As the movie starts, we see a white car driving through the city streets, following a black car. The white car eventually collides with the black car in a deserted area with no people around. The drivers step out of their cars, and the man from the black car begins taking pictures of the accident, likely for insurance purposes. Suddenly, the driver of the white car attacks him with a knife, dragging him into the back seat of the black car. After disposing of the body, the driver of the white car flees the scene in the stolen black car. A while later, we see two police officers stuck in a frustrating traffic jam. As they sit in their vehicle, they listen to the radio, which broadcasts news about the murder that took place in the opening scene. Tired of waiting, one of the officers named Tae-seok gets out of the vehicle and walks into the roadside gambling facility. As he approaches the entrance, the security guards try to bribe him with a pile of cash. But disgusted by their actions, the cop refuses the bribe and instead hits them for their unethical behavior. Making his way inside the establishment, the cop spots a man working behind the counter and proceeds to arrest him for an illegal exchange of money. Meanwhile, a powerful mafia boss named Dong-su is seen practicing his punches on a punching bag as some of his men enter the room and inform him of the gambling incident. Dong-su orders his men to lower the punching bag, and a man is seen inside beaten to a bloodied pulp. He exits the building and gets into a car, followed by two other vehicles. Dong-su makes a call to someone in the police department, complaining about a police officer who has recently caused trouble in his gambling facility. It becomes clear that Dong-su is paying off this police director to keep his men from being bothered. The scene cuts to Tae-seok instructing the man he has arrested drive his own motorcycle, with him riding in the back, to the crime scene. Handcuffed and unable to escape, the man had no choice but to obey. Tae-seok arrives at the crime scene, where other police officers have already gathered. He carefully examines the scene for clues and finds out that the victim's car might have been bumped from behind. The scene changes to Dong-su as he sits down with Chang-do, another influential gangster, to discuss the matter of respecting their territories and their responsibilities. Their respective bodyguards become entangled in the heated verbal exchange. Seeing the situation escalate, Dong-su rises from his seat and delivers a fierce punch to his own bodyguard and rips out two teeth of the other bodyguard's mouth to assert his dominance. Intimidated by Dong-su's action, Chang-do had no further objections or disagreements. At the police station, a group of detectives gather for a meeting to discuss about the murder case. They analyze the victim's life and find that he had no debts and no known enemies. Tae-seok suggests that the killer may be a serial killer. He points out that two other killings have occurred where a knife of the same length was used. However, the others were skeptical and disagree with Tae-seok's theory. As the meeting continues, the director of the police department scolds Tae-seok for taking down the gambling facility without proper jurisdiction. But Tae-seok refused to back down, insisting that his main priority is catching the bad guys, regardless of his senior's orders. Dong-su exits the building, accompanied by his bodyguard. He instructs his men to go home while he gets into his car alone and starts driving. But suddenly, another car crashes into the back of his vehicle. Both Dong-su and the other driver step out of their cars. Seeing the minor damage to his vehicle, Dong-su decides to not notify his insurance company and walks away. However, the other driver catches Dong-su off guard and stabs him with his knife. But Dong-su was a gangster who had been through these situations before. He fights back and eventually manages to disarm the killer and retaliates by stabbing him in return. The killer retreats to his car and ruthlessly runs over Dong-su before escaping. Severely injured, Dong-su is rushed to the hospital while his loyal men embark on a mission to seek revenge by hunting down and eliminating members of the other gang who might have been the ones that injured Dong-su. At the same time, the serial killer is seen taking care of his wounds and walking into an outdoor facility. There finds his other victim, an elderly man, and mercilessly murders him without any reason. Dong-su wakes up and instructs his bodyguards to search for a white sedan, hoping to gather more information about the attacker. Meanwhile, Tae-seok visits Dong-su to obtain his statement, but Dong-su offers no useful details. Tae-seok decides to examine Dong-su's car for any clues. As he inspects the vehicle, he figures out that a car had collided with Dong-su's car. It becomes evident that the same person is responsible for all incidents. Tae-seok confronts the police director, urging him to stop covering up for Dong-su. He wanted to bring Dong-su in for questioning, as he had seen the assailant's face. Tae-seok further argues that his theory about the serial killer was accurate, suggesting that the perpetrator may indeed be the serial killer himself. After all, no one other than the serial killer would go for the boss of a gang. However, the police director refuses to hear any more and kicks Tae-seok out of his office. The killer makes a stop at a gas station and purchases a coffee from the vending machine. However, his attention is suddenly drawn to a man nearby, and without warning, he ruthlessly stabs him to death. Simultaneously, Dong-su is seen talking to a woman, vividly describing the killer's face as she draws his sketch. Dong-su entrusts the sketch to his bodyguard, instructing him to locate the assailant before the police do. Meanwhile, the killer continues his journey using the truck of the man he killed before. Inside the cabin, a man suddenly awakens from his sleep, and the killer eliminates the man as well. Unfortunately for the killer, his weapon falls out of the truck without him noticing. Tae-seok pays a visit to Dong-su, applying pressure and attempting to get some information from him. But despite Tae-seok's efforts, Dong-su remains unmoved. Later on, Dong-su's guard delivers troubling news, as his reputation has been tarnished by rumors of the attack. Now Dong-su has no choice but to kill the killer to regain the respect he once had, and to help him do that, his men had finally managed to find the killer's white car and the knife he had used to kill his victims. To find the killer quickly, Dong-su proposes a collaboration to Tae-seok with a condition. If Tae-seok locates the killer first, he can bring him to justice. However, if Dong-su succeeds in finding the killer, he can exact punishment according to his own wishes. Both parties agree to share their information, as Dong-su unveils a hidden camera that has been recording their entire conversation. Aware of the risks involved in partnering with a cop, Dong-su needed collateral in case something goes wrong. As they share information, it becomes evident that the killer is approximately 35 years old and exclusively operates in dark. After Tae-seok leaves, Dong-su tells his guard that they will eliminate all of them once they find the killer. Dong-su further complicates the case by ordering his men to kill Shang-do using the killer's knife. He intentionally leaves the weapon at the crime scene, ensuring its discovery by the police. During forensic examination, the information is found on the knife, linked it to the previous murders committed at the gas station. Tae-seok realizes that Dong-su planned Shang-do's demise in a way that would mislead the police into believing that the serial killer was responsible for the act. He pays visit to Dong-su to confront him, but is unable to do anything to him. Meanwhile, the news outlets begin reporting on Shang-do's death, which leads the addition of a new team to the police department to aid in the ongoing investigation. The serial killer watches the news in a restaurant and whispers to himself that he didn't kill Shang-do. During Shang-do's funeral, the serial killer blends in with the crowd while keeping an eye on Dong-su. At the right moment, he approaches Shang-do's bodyguard to give him a note that read, "Shang-do was killed by his knife, but not by him," and points his face towards Dong-su. Dong-su and Tae-seok carefully examine the white sedan and find bloodstain beneath the wheel that could help them unveil the identity of the killer. However, during their investigation, a group of Shang-do's henchmen launch a sudden attack on Dong-su and Tae-seok. A fierce and intense fight ensues, but Dong-su and Tae-seok somehow manage to overpower them. Later, Tae-seok and his partners receive a crucial lead on the serial killer's whereabouts. Determined, they track him down and catch a glimpse of the murderer with their own eyes. They chase him down, but the killer narrowly manages to flee the scene. The team stumbles upon a place where the killer had recently had his food and drink. Now, they set out to find the bottle he drank from. Their search leads them to a local factory responsible for recycling empty bottles. To aid their search, they take help from the forensics team, hoping to find any new leads and clues possible. At the police department, a woman working in forensics hands Tae-seok a file, suggesting he investigate a person that has been declared missing long ago. She has discovered a fingerprint on the wheel of a white sedan that matched the one found at the crime scene. Tae-seok decides to visit a house rented by a person he suspected to be the killer. He spoke with the landlady, who described the renter as a good man who had never caused any trouble. Tae-seok manages to find some pictures and other clues in the house. Comparing the pictures to Dong-su's sketch, he confirmed that they had indeed found the serial killer. Tae-seok informs his partners and Dong-su about this, and they take immediate action. They share the killer's picture with everyone and start searching everywhere in the city, but unfortunately, they were unable to find anyone. Exhausted from their search, the men decided to take a break. Later, Dong-su is seen waiting for Tae-seok at a random bus stand, with rain pouring down. Right beside him, a female student is waiting for the bus. Seeing her getting wet in the rain, Dong-su offers her his umbrella to shield her from the rain until the bus arrives. While Tae-seok, Dong-su and his men are having dinner, their attention is drawn to the TV as the news reports the accident of the female student to whom Dong-su had lent his umbrella. Fueled by anger, Dong-su and his companions abruptly rise from the table and set out to find the killer once again. Their search leads them to spot the killer in a car, initiating a car chase. Dong-su and his bodyguard manage to crush the killer and Tae-seok's car at the same time. However, the killer manages to escape on foot through the dark alleys. Unwilling to let him slip away, Dong-su and his team split up to chase after him. During their chase, the killer manages to stab Dong-su's bodyguard and escape, but Dong-su tracks the killer down and beats him until he becomes unconscious and then takes him to a warehouse to torture him even further. Just as Dong-su was about to chop the killer's head off, he is interrupted by Tae-seok, who breaks into his warehouse using his car and knocks him out. Tae-seok seizes the opportunity to formally arrest the killer and send him behind the bars. However, another problem arises when the police lacked sufficient evidence to sentence the killer to death row. However, Tae-seok steps in and convinces Dong-su to act as a witness in court. Dong-su agrees, but on the condition that Tae-seok puts him in the same jail as the killer. During the hearing, Dong-su acts as a witness and presents evidence that proves the killer attacked him first. He reveals that during the attack, he managed to stab the killer in the left side of his chest. The police take off the killers and find a wound in the indicated area of his body. As a result, the killer is sentenced to jail, where he finds himself locked up alongside Dong-su, who plans to kill the killer before his death sentence.